Commissioners held this Tuesday, the 28th day of March, 2017 at 10 o'clock. In attendance today are Commissioner Gibson, Commissioner Harvey, and Commissioner Ebert, and we'd like to say thank you to any who have attended today. We will start today with an invocation by Reverend Kim James from the Ogden First United Methodist Church. We will then have the Pledge of Allegiance led by Mr. Jim Harvey and the Thought of the Day by Commissioner Gibson. Reverend.
All right. Before I pray, I just want to say greetings from the First United Methodist Church. We're located on 400 North in Marriott-Slaterville, and we thank you all for your service to our county. Let us pray. Good and gracious God, we call upon you this morning as a group of citizens in need of your guidance. We bow before you humbly, grateful for the gifts of leadership you have given us, but also aware that we are limited in knowledge and weak in spirit. Even when we do our best to serve you and each other, we sometimes fail to live up to the covenant promises that you have established for your people. And so we pray, O Lord, that you would come among this gathered body of Weber County Commissioners, staff, guests, and residents. We pray that all who are here would work together for the efficient and just governance of our county. Fill this room with your Holy Spirit, that all who are here might listen carefully, weigh competing interests fairly, respond to differing opinions politely, and make decisions wisely. We pray that those voices which are absent from this meeting would also be remembered, and that the needs of the poor and disabled would be considered with compassion. Put forgiveness in our hearts for troubles of the past, and hope in our minds for the good that you have called us to do as we work together for the best future of this county we call home. Amen.
I invite you to rise and repeat after me, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
So today, we had a really special event in our family a couple days ago. For the first time, I became a grandpa, and it's hard to believe. I know, Jan. It's hard to believe because I don't look old enough to be a grandpa. But I'll tell you what, holding that little baby, it's been about 10 years. My youngest son is 10 years old, and so holding this little baby, it was a absolute treat for me. Just seeing the light in his eyes and the excitement in his parents' eyes for the opportunities that are ahead of them, and just that's one of the real joys and blessings in life. Harvey was teasing me a little bit this morning because he said I looked a little groggy, and that's probably true. I haven't had a lot of sleep, but it's been a super amazing experience and a super amazing opportunity. Just lots of hope that comes with rebirth, and during this time of springtime, it's always nice to look around and see everything turning green and the earth kind of rejuvenating itself, and after having had a little bit of a break, getting ready to grow again and grow crops, and just amazed with some of the miracles in life that are all around us. One of the things that I thought was really interesting, my second daughter is on a mission in Spain, and this one is my oldest is the one that had the baby here. And it was really fun watching them grow up together, watching them as little kids and then grow up together, and the love that they shared for each other most of the time. Heard a saying yesterday, something about what was it? Me against my brother, me and my brother against my cousin, me and my cousin against the world. And it brought back a lot of fond memories of these two girls growing up as little girls and playing soccer together on the same team because they were so close. They would fight like the dickens at home, But as soon as they got on that soccer field, if one of them went down, you could expect to get leveled by the other one, right? Because they had that sense of love and loyalty. So anyway, it's brought back a lot of fun memories of childhood and all those good things. But anyway, the thought of the day, I tried to not use Mr. Hunter's thoughts every week because he sends them every day, but this one was just really cool. I loved this, and it made me think of the feelings that I was feeling for family members and this little baby. But he says this, by Jane Austen, English novelist. There is nothing that I would not do for those who are really my friends. I have no notion of loving people by halves. It's not my nature. And it made me think of the things that are really important, and these little children and our family relationships and those things that are truly important to us. And my hope and my goal, I hope that is the way that that can be extrapolated for me outside of family. That those who know me and consider me a friend would think that is how I would treat them. That I wouldn't know how to be halfway. That I wouldn't understand that I would know that they would know that they could count on me in their times of challenge. So one of those things that I think we can learn from what we understand, which is generally a family relationship, and figure out how to expand that into reality. As I work with each and every one of you individuals, it is just a tremendous opportunity for me to get to know you. And I'm grateful for the good people that you are, and even when we don't agree 100% on the issue, that there are relationships being built that are strong and powerful, and that are much more important than any particular issue that we might happen to disagree with. So anyway, if you ever want to get on this mailing list by Mr. Hunter, it's pretty good. He always has some pretty decent ones, but every now and then there's a really, really good one, and this one really struck me, and I appreciated it very much. So anyway, that's my thought, Commissioner. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Gibson. Commissioner Harvey? Every once in a while, we're sent these little gifts from above that remind us of who we are and what's really important in our life. So thank you for sharing that personal one with us, Commissioner. Thank you, Reverend, for the prayer. We appreciate your time, and Commissioner Harvey for leading us in the pledge today. We'll move on to item number E, presentation. It's a recognition of Mayor Toby Molesky and the Weber Area Dispatch 911 and Emergency Services District Board, and Director Tina Matthew for their work on getting Senate Bill 198 passed, and also for creating a cost model for services provided in Morgan County. If we could have both of you please step to the microphone, which means eventually we'll have to talk. We've had an opportunity through a lot of hard work, I believe, over this last year to create a better funding structure for our 911 district, and it's come through a tremendous amount of work by both of these individuals. We as a county commission have really set to finding better ways to do governance and better ways to find the appropriate funding models, whatever if it's a district or for its contracts and things like that. And this is a prime example of the work that's been done. So if I could ask each of you to kind of talk about what you worked on and kind of explain how that's been a benefit to the county as a whole through specifically either reducing the costs to the district or finding better funding models such as the the calls for service based, and then having the appropriate structure for Morgan County.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, Commissioners. I have to apologize for my attire this morning. I didn't realize I was on the agenda. I have a tractor work to work on, and then immediately after that, I'm heading to the livestock auction because I need more calves, Kathy. So let Mark know that if you would. So yes, thank you very much, and we have done a lot of work at Weber Area 911 Dispatch, and it's been fun and hard work, and I've actually thoroughly enjoyed my time as chairman there. To go to the Morgan County part of things, they had an incredibly low amount that they were paying on their contract. They're included in our service, and when their contract came up from renewal, our director Tina Matthew let me know that based on what our Weber County taxpayers pay they're not paying their fair share. And so after about a year of going back and forth up there, they finally agreed to pay their fair share based on what our taxpayers pay. And that was a huge accomplishment for the district as a whole and for the taxpayers of Weber County, which was the main reason I was going up there for that. And that was almost about $300,000. And then the new bill that you talked about, Mr. Chairman, that is going to add an additional close to 500. So we'll be just well over 700,000 in additional income to the district. And as far as cost savings, we're very conscious of that, and we do our best, but unfortunately 911 service is an expensive service for public service. But I'll let Tina talk about the work that she did, and it's a tremendous work. And when she said that this was her plan, I said, go for it, take the time away, do what we need to do, because we need to have that model changed. And she was able and successful to do that, so I'll turn it over to Ms. Matthew.
Thank you, Mayor.
Hi, thank you. Senate Bill 198 is a big win for public safety statewide in terms of the funding source that has been created now for the 800 megahertz radio system that is needed throughout the state to help save citizens' lives and public safety, fire, EMS, and law enforcement. But in particular to our county, it will mean approximately $1 million through $450,000 in savings that will be realized by all of the law enforcement and fire agencies through our county in radio fees that will not have to be paid as of July 1. And as Mayor Molesky mentioned, approximately $560,000 in new 911 money that will come to us after the second year hold harmless. So it is a lot of new money for our agency, for the county as a whole. And through the call distribution, it really puts the funds where they need to go based on who's taking the calls. The 911 center, our center, averages between 800 and 1,000 calls a day. And so that money will be routed to us based on us taking those calls. And that's what the tax is collected for. Therefore, it should be redistributed that way. So we feel very fortunate that the bill passed. There was a lot of hard work, and I really appreciate being afforded the opportunity to spend so much time working on it. I think it was a win-win for us.
And the mayor can probably touch on this a little bit, but over the last 3 to 4 years, between real need to build a new facility, because the facility you had was extremely small, and then the changeover on the computer-aided dispatch system, truly those costs were incurred by the district, and had put us in a position where operationally we were a little bit in crisis. And when both of you took up these projects to really show, one, a better model for the distribution for Morgan County to make it reflective of what the citizens are paying in Weber County, and two, to have a model that really reflected calls for services, the primary way to disperse those funds, which each of those completely makes sense. It put the district in a much better position as far as moving forward financially. And so from the commission perspective, we just wanted to say thank you for the tremendous amount of work. Thank you for identifying a problem and then coming up with a solution and then delivering on that solution. Because as Commissioner Gibson and Commissioner Harvey know, a tremendous amount of work goes to moving bills like that forward, because this bill had winners and losers in it. And many times when there are winners and losers, bills don't go anywhere, but this bill did pass. And it's always hard to negotiate with other entities when you're looking to increase, but we were able, through the negotiation and the relationship building, to get a contract with Morgan County. So thank you very much for that tremendous amount of work. Commissioners.
I just for public record, being in as much as we're being videoed, I want this to grow. But one, I think we've not only had great leadership there, but I was privileged to be present in one of those committee meetings. Miss Matthew, not only did she work towards, but she chairs this committee, and there was some passionate discussion in that room as it pertained to both sides of the fence. I was impressed with her ability to lead and to manage and to be able to keep that dialogue on topic, yet still be able to reasonably direct conversation so that it would work out well for all parties throughout the whole state, yet still representing this Weber Morgan area. It was awesome to watch. And to you, Mayor Molesky, you have a very, very unique style of leadership and management that is effective. And I commend you for what you've done for the greater good for this whole northern area. Thank you for doing that very much. I want those who will hear this to know that we're so fortunate to have you in this team for Weber County. Thank you so much for what you've done.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, and you gentlemen know, and a lot of our members of WACOG know, but sometimes some of the public and some of the other members we interact with don't realize that the 911 is primarily funded by property tax and by these fees on the cell phones, telephones, and devices. And we were at a point where we were looking at some type of property tax increase in order to ensure our current level of service. Well, this was an opportunity to take that burden off the property tax owner and put it onto the users who are actually using the devices. And it's an equitable solution that has great rewards for us, and I think the taxpayers themselves will be appreciative of this as well, and all Tina's hard work in that area.
Absolutely.
And I think also the end, the people benefiting in the end. I think it's important that we remember that our law enforcement customers, even though they are very important in this mix, are not the end customers, right? The end customer is the public, who has a reasonable expectation that when they dial the number, that it's actually going to be routed quickly and appropriately, and that, to me, that is a real key, because we have seen models throughout the state that aren't nearly as effective, and I'm really impressed with ours, grateful for ours, and I think Commissioner Harvey makes a good point. That doesn't come by accident. That comes from good leadership and good administration and opportunities to learn and grow, and sometimes think outside of the box when it comes to reevaluating things. And so I do appreciate both of you taking the bull by the horns here and moving forward in a positive way. So anyway, thanks for all you do.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, we'll move on to item number F, consent items. 1, request for approval of warrants 1030 to 1043 and 415288 to 415600 in the amount of $1,900,342.18. A request for approval of purchase orders in the amount of $87,638.11. Number 3, a request for approval of minutes for the meeting held on March 21st, 2017. A request from the Weber County Sheriff's Office for approval to surplus firearms and equipment. Number 5, a request for approval of new business licenses. And number 6, request for approval of the following ramp items. Any questions, thoughts, or concerns about the consent items as read or listed?
Before we go to Lynn, just a reminder that the ramp items as listed were previously approved, right, Shelley? So this is just the formal contracts that, even though the list has been approved in its entirety. So, okay. Lynn?
Thank you, Commissioners. The purchase orders this time, the most significant ones, just short of $26,000 or 30% to the library for a multifunction document system. $15,000 or 17% has been allocated for title work for tax sale properties. So that's an open order. We anticipate it'll be about half that when it's all done. And then finally, just about $11,000 or 13% for a server for information technology. And then on the warrants, $685,000 or 36% for medical and dental insurance, $209,000 or 11% to the fleet department for capital equipment, and finally $191,000 for paramedic contracted services. It's about 10% of the total. Everything else in both categories is less than 10%.
Thank you. Commissioners,
I'll move that we adopt and approve the consent items as read.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve and adopt the consent items. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes. On to the action items. Let's start with number 1 under G, request for approval of final reading of an ordinance of the County Commissioners of Weber County proposing amendments to the Development Services Agreement. You're not Charlie. Rick Grover.
Sorry, you're stuck with me.
Glad
Good
to have you,
morning.
Rick.
Thank you. Good morning, Commissioners. In the first reading, as you reviewed the fees, it was indicated to you that the fees have not been looked at or reviewed for over 10 plus years. And as we started delving into this, we are very concerned about the impact that this could have on the developers and the citizens of the community. And as we looked at this, we looked at two things specifically. We reached out to other communities to see how they are doing their fees to make sure that we're in line with them. We don't want to be over the top. Right now, we're at the bottom, or I would say at the bottom, but we're not at the average because we haven't looked at them for over 10 plus years. Then we also looked at staff, the amount of time that they would place upon reviewing these fees. We did not look at anything that dealt with like maintaining computers or lights or anything like that. We just looked at the time that they spend on that. And from that, we based an average of those fees. And so the average that was presented to you last time, it took into account all of those things. The fees that you're looking at are fees that are coming from the planning department, from the surveyor's office, from the engineering department, and from the building department. The building department, the fees that they're looking at is dealing with the ICC code, and so as that changes, they'll be able to change with that so that they're not held to that specific item all the time, so that it can fluctuate. The planning fees that are in there and the engineering fees are looking at subdivisions, site plan reviews, things like that. One thing we did not increase very much on is when we look at land use permits. We kept that fee fairly low because we want to encourage people to come in and get land use permits. We don't want to discourage them from doing that. And if they're buying a small shed that costs $500 and then we have a $400 fee for that, they're not going to come in and do that. And so we made sure that that fee stayed fairly low, because we're not trying to recoup any of our costs with these fees. We're just basically trying to cover the time as much as possible, and we're not even doing that. It could be increased based upon what we've looked at, but the fees that are before you are the ones that were presented to you in the first reading. Nothing's changed, and if I can answer any questions that you have on this, I'd be glad to.
Well, I think I was on the phone when this was discussed the first time, and so I want to just weigh in a little bit. I think it's appropriate that we have this discussion, and frankly, I think it's appropriate that it be reevaluated quite frequently. There's a lot of different ways to look at this. One being that, I think I generally tend to fall down the line that user fees are important. There's some things that need to be borne by the user, some things that maybe a little less. There's also circumstances where there's a benefit to the general population, right? And I think you did a good job of explaining why maybe one fee was a little higher and one was not raised, right? Because of the benefit to the population. In other words, it does us some good to know where these structures are, right? Mm-hmm. And have a land use permit, and so we don't want to disincentivize. There may be other times when that's important, where the end goal, we're trying to incentivize a behavior and there's a benefit to the entire community by doing so. And so, as I looked at this before when it was on the first reading and looked at it again today, I am impressed with the depth of thought that has gone into this, and I'm sure there will be some who will come in who will say this is going to cost me more and I don't like it, and I'd probably be one of those. But by this from that perspective, but by the same token, I think you've made reasonable arguments in each of these areas and reasonable requests, and I think what I'd like to remind all of us of is that with this is also a good opportunity to make sure that we look at the service delivery part of this and make sure that that things are done appropriately and timely in the best manner that we can. And what I've seen, or what I just like is to let's just keep that in mind as part of the thought process, and always be looking for those opportunities to improve. That's not a criticism, because I think we're doing better all the time and doing really good. But we always ought to keep in mind how we can do better. Yeah. And I think as a consumer, I would much rather come into your office and pay a little more and make sure that and have things go really well. You know what I mean? Yeah. Than the opposite. And so I hope that our customers are starting to see that change that's going on down there. So.
And that's something we feel very important is that we're reaching out and we're making the review process simpler for the developers or just the mom and pop that come in, so that it's simple, easy to get through the system. It's always a little frightful when you come into government municipality. It's not something anyone really wants to do, but when they do that, we want to make it as painless as possible.
I don't like the burden of property tax, just like anyone. And I do concur with the business model that those who use the service should pay. For instance, if you go golfing, you pay green fees. If you drive, you pay gasoline or road fees or tax on your cars. And so that it follows that model. The thing that also, though, that I commend you for is looking at this and doing something about it, because in every case there's some infrastructure, and in that infrastructure we need to plan for the future, as that will certainly fail, as I think about, for instance, the sewer piece of it. Yeah. And so we need to plan for tomorrow, and this is taking a step towards planning for tomorrow, so that it would help reduce any future burden on all the taxpayers who may not be using that. And so this is good, but I would also encourage you or your department that we don't wait another 10 years before we look at this again, as things keep going. And I think that echoes throughout the whole county. We look at those things and make those adjustments along the way, so that when we have to make these adjustments like we did here the fourth quarter of last year, that it's not a huge deal. It's just small increments rather than a big lump. So that would just be, but Rick, I really appreciate you and your department and what you guys have done. There's so much work that's gone into this, and I've looked at the studies. I'm so glad that we're efficient in that department, and we're amongst the median rather than the top end. That shows fiscally responsible work. Thanks. So thank you.
Thank you. And if there's ways that we can lower the fees, we want to be looking at them each year and coming back to you and seeing where we fit. And if there's ways we can lower them, we want to do that as well. Because a lot of times when you think of fees, it seems like they're always increasing. But if we can find ways to lower them and better our service and get things done more quickly, that's what we want to do.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rick. Again, this is part of an overall process that the commission has taken over the last several years to provide more visioning, and this is just one step in that, whether it's the review of better service delivery or the review of better processes, or the review of the fee schedule. It's all part of a systems approach we're taking not only in this department, but in many other departments. And I think you've seen this through this presentation and through our original with our 911 districts. So thank you for being a great part of this. Any further thoughts or discussion, commissioners? If not, I'm open for a motion.
Ordinance 9.
Move that we approve ordinance number 9.
And I will second that.
I have a motion and a second to approve ordinance number 9. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Gibson,
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey,
Aye.
and Chair Ebert.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Rick. Number 2, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Pictometry to acquire aerial photography to support the review of physical characteristics as required by Utah State statute. Mr. John Ulibarri.
Good morning, Commissioners. Thank you for the opportunity to come before you today.
What the heck is this?
What the heck is that? That is a good question. So what the contract is a modification of our current contract. Currently, we only fly biannually, meaning once every 2 years. That just simply wasn't keeping up with our statutory requirement. We needed to fly a little bit more often. So we came, as part of the budget for this year, we came to the Commission, and the Commission thankfully approved this particular request. And so we're modifying the contract to allow for an annual flight versus the biannual flight. So many people say, will ask, what is pictometry? Pictometry is our aerial photography. It allows us to capture orthographic, meaning straight down, and oblique angles, which mean from the side, of all the improvements in Weber County, which is fantastic. What that does, or why do we need it? So we have a statutory requirement of reviewing physical characteristics on each parcel of property once at least every 5 years. Our prior attempts were 1 of every 10, and since we've been able to use pictometry, we're now down to between 4 and 5 years to complete that task. It's a much more efficient collection method. Before, we were knocking on every single door in the county, and now we're only knocking on about 10 to 20%, which is more efficient use of our time. Then we're not out disturbing our customers and wondering why we're spending all of our time out there bothering them. So this is just this is a prime example of how we use technology in the assessor's office to better leverage our resources, and I would be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
I support it. It's awesome. Great work.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I think it received a good thorough vetting during the budgeting process. And it's good to see it coming together. I'm glad we're moving forward with it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
And I see that through all the work that's been done, this is probably the direction we need to go to maintain the historical data that we already have, that connectivity to it. So thank you for looking at all the angles. Any other discussion? Okay, I'm open to a motion.
So move.
Second?
I have a motion to approve the contract by and between Weber County and Pictometry. Been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It passes. Thank you very much,
Okay.
Mr. Ulibarri.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item number 3, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and Great Basin Antique Machinery to have Great Basin Antique Machinery at the 2017 Weber County Fair. Jan Wilson. Jan, what is the date of the Weber County Fair?
August 9th through the 12th.
August 9th through the 12th. I'm going to ask you that every time you present me with a contract so we can get that in everybody's mind.
You have 19 weeks to ask me.
August
What
9th
about-
through the 12th.
What about the theme? Is that still a secret?
No,
It's not?
Dancing with the Steers. We figured you'd like that.
If I can interrupt.
Wait a second.
No, it's okay.
No,
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'd suggest maybe that Ms. Wilson present all these contracts, so we just have to vote on it one time, and then we, Fatima, maybe assign them numerically so that we could make this go a little quicker. Okay?
Perfect. Thank you.
Why did you think I'd like Dancing with the Steers?
Really? If it has something to do with some type of a cow, you will love
But
it.
it's a
Hey,
but that's okay.
You're right. No, I'll
It's
take
still-
it.
Great. It's a
I
great
knew it.
theme.
That or milk.
Because Dancing with the Swine was already
Yes. Commissioners, I do have 5 contracts for you to approve today. The first one, like Commissioner Ebert said, is with the Great Basin Antique Farm Machinery. What they do is they bring out a display of antique farm machinery, tractors, they do a parade, and they do polls. It's in the infield of the racetrack, and I do believe all three of you have seen it.
Good stuff.
Correct.
Would you like me to go on? Or
yeah,
do
we
you have
would.
questions?
Nope.
Okay.
Well, unless you have a question specific to this one, we can ask questions at the end.
Okay. The next one is a contract between Weber County and the Broken Heart Rodeo, Ben Gurman. He will be the producer of the All Weber Rodeo that will be on Wednesday, August 9th. It's for $7,500, and then there is a $14 run charge. So that means that every timed event will be an additional $14. It rounds out to be about $9,300 for that rodeo. The next one is with Animal Specialties. You would probably know that better as the petting zoo that is in the parking lot where we all park the rest of the time of the year. It is for $5,000. The next contract is between Weber County and Sean Paulson and Cindy Paulson. He does the Hypnotist show. He does 2 each night. Excuse me. The board a few years ago decided that we needed to alternate his stage. So one night he would be on the exhibit hall stage and one night he would be on the recreation hall stage. So we're kind of using both of those stages to promote his show. He does 8 shows of the 4 days. And then the next one is with Wooden Creations, Mark Culp. He comes out and does wood carvings. I know you guys have all seen that. He does 3 to 4 carvings, and then we auction those off the last night of the fair at 10 o'clock. It's actually a silent auction, and it closes the last night at 10 o'clock. So do you have any questions?
Commissioners?
Again, I love especially the last one because the amount of the auction items nearly pays for the act. And so
It does.
it shows fiduciarily responsible actions on the part of the fair. Wow, I
Listen
don't
to
think
you,
I could
Mr.
put that many, I
Hartley.
can't put that many syllables together again.
So I was just going to pitch in here on the Great Basin Antique Machinery. If you haven't had a chance to go look at all of those old machines, they're pretty cool. But what is cooler is spending time talking to those individuals because they are so proud of those old tractors. They'll tell you everything humanly possible. They'll tell you when they bought it. They'll tell you who drove. I mean, they are just so happy to talk to you. So if you're out there and you got some time, go talk to. And they also then just kind of create a relationship. They spend time talking to you.
They do.
So it's a lot of fun.
I would make the motion that we approve all 5 of these contracts.
I'll second.
I have a motion to approve all 5 contracts. Any further discussion? It's been moved and seconded. Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
It passes. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Commissioners.
Item number 8, request for approval of a contract by and between Weber County and the Ogden Eccles Conference Center and Weber State University Linquist College of Arts and Humanities for a partnership and showing 7 days in Syria on March 29th, 2017. Cassie Bybee.
Good morning, Commissioners.
Good morning.
Well, what I'm bringing before you at this time is a concession to the contract that we waive the rental fee at the theater in partnership with Scott Springer, who's the Dean of the Lindquist Arts and Humanities there at Weber State. As you know, Weber State is our partner, and I was approached that we show this film 7 days in Syria, and then the following April 4th, a week later, he's actually bringing in the director of this film, and she will be speaking up at the Union Building there on Weber State University at 10:30. So a little bit about the director and stuff. Her name is Janine Dia Giovanni, and she is with Newsweek, and she was actually asked not to go with Newsweek to Syria because of the danger there, and she went anyway. And so this film depicts what she saw there and just really what her 7 days in Syria was like. So we're thrilled about having this shown in our theater and partnering with Weber State on this.
How is it being advertised, Cassie?
It's being advertised on Facebook. They've both on our sites, and it's both on our calendars. And then Weber State has done posters, and they've handled the majority of the marketing. They're also in partnership with us. They're doing a video, so they've created a video of her, and she will actually be introducing the film. tomorrow evening because she won't be able to be here in person, of course. She actually is in Europe, so she'll be flying from Europe to be able to speak on the 4th.
Well, I just
No, go ahead.
I just
Sorry,
continue to be amazed by that facility. I mean, every time I'm in it, I'm just blown away by the quality and the workmanship and the opportunity that's there. I had the opportunity last week to be with the Sundance Institute as they did a screening there for us of a movie that was actually filmed right here in Ogden quite a bit, all in Utah and at least a significant portion here in Ogden. And there's just no better place to watch a movie than anywhere, or to live theater. I mean, all of the abilities that facility has, and hope we can get the word out in a way that people will be able to enjoy that treasure in our community. So, and this is a great addition, and I love the way you described it. It's something that it's got my attention already. So appreciate it.
Great.
Thank you. Thank you for the outreach we have with our community partners. We've seen a big change in the last several years, and working with Dean Springer and at Weber State, who is one of our partners, and who's a valuable member of our art community, and bringing that relationship to bear a little more than we've had in the past, I think is going to continue to move the community forward, you know, not only the Egyptian, but the entire community. So thank you very much. Commissioners, your pleasure.
I'll move that we approve the contract.
Absolutely. Second.
I have a motion to approve the contract by and between Weber County, the Ogden Eccles Conference Center, and Weber State University. It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? It passes. Thank you very much. Item number 9, request for approval of a license agreement by and between Weber County and the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers for use and broadcast of music at all county venues. Jennifer Graham.
Good morning. Yes, this is something a little bit new for us. We last year, the Ice Sheet was the only venue that had a current ASCAP license. Many years ago, we maintained one at the fairgrounds, but for different reasons went away from that. However, due to the fact that ASCAP is kind of stepping up their regulations on this a bit and their monitoring of this, we've decided it would be best for the entire county to just come together, increase our annual fee just a bit, and then have all the county facilities covered for the playing of music over at any concerts or any over public address systems. So,
Jennifer, does it cover this building?
I believe so, even though according to this, the premises means buildings, hospitals, airports, zoos, museums, athletic fields, on and on, owned or operated by the licensee.
So yes, she said zoo.
It should include every countywide, every
Yes.
venue.
Even though the fee is being split between the Ice Sheet, the Conference Center, and the Golden Spike Event Center.
Why, thank you for doing that.
You're welcome. So you can turn your radio on now.
I don't have to listen to Carrie sing in the office
You
anymore.
can
That's
whistle.
going to be a treat.
Whistle while
The
you
radio
work.
on, that's exactly when I start singing. Just saying.
Any other questions? For Jennifer? Okay, open to a motion.
So move.
Second.
Been moved and seconded to approve a license agreement by and between Weber County and the American Society of Composers, Authors, and Publishers. Any further discussion? All in favor say aye.
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 Thank you.
It passes. Thank you, Jennifer. Request for approval of a resolution of the County Commissioners of Weber County appointing members to the Weber Area Dispatch 911 and Emergency Services District. This came up several weeks ago as COG approved through the COG process individuals to sit on the 911 Dispatch and Emergency Services District Board. After that appointment was made and prior to us putting it on the agenda, we were informed because it was a board, we had to officially announce it. So we went through that entire process. It was announced. We had 3 individuals who put in for the service district to be on the service district board. And we are now presenting those names to you to review. We do have, through the chair of the COG, the request to maintain the COG appointment of Mayor Minster as their appointment. And so they're requesting that we review Mayor Flinton and Leonard Call as our board appointment, but all two seats are available still to those two positions. Discussion.
I just think, not to correct terminology, but I think that to use the term appointment would probably be the wrong term. I would call that more a nomination from the COG, because the appointment can only happen through this body. Is that correct, Chris? So I think the COG makes a recommendation or a nomination. We then advertise that, and then we make that appointment. And I just think it's important for us to realize, to remember that we have the opportunity here to pick any two of these three. Is that correct, Chris? Is that fairly stated?
I believe he's
I would make a motion that we approve the names of James F. Minster and Leonard Call on this 911 board.
I'll second that motion.
And it is a resolution.
Number?
13.
Okay, I have a motion to approve Resolution 13, appointing Leonard Call and James Minster to the 911 Area Service Board. Do I have any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Gibson,
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey,
Aye.
Chair Ebert.
Aye. It passes. Thank you very much. We will now move on to item number H, public hearing. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn a public meeting and convene a public hearing.
I'll move.
Second.
So we have a motion to adjourn this meeting and enter into a public hearing. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Public hearing for consideration and action on a request to vacate public access easement on open space parcels located within the Aspen Falls Estate Cluster Subdivision, located at approximately 4100 North, 4200 East. Steve Burton. Nice to see you, Steve.
Nice to see you. Hello. We have a public hearing for consideration and action on a request to vacate access easements on open space parcels located within the Aspen Falls Estates subdivision. We have a legislative type of decision. The applicant is Nate Boswell. File number UVA 032816. The project area we're looking at is 8.3 acres. The zoning is Agriculture Valley, so the AV3. Existing land use is agricultural, open space, and residential. The proposed use is an amended cluster subdivision. So I'll briefly explain the development history with this project as it is found in the staff report. The original Aspen Falls Estates cluster subdivision received approval from the County Commission on December 6, 2007, creating 10 lots and public access easements on 3 open space parcels. The Aspen Falls Estates Cluster Subdivision First Amendment was submitted to the Planning Division on March 28, 2016, with the request to amend the open space parcels by removing public access rights to them. And then we have currently the Ogden Valley Planning Commission unanimously approved. I guess this isn't currently, it's still back in 2016. The Ogden Valley Planning Commission unanimously approved the subdivision amendment and recommended approval of the vacation of public access to the open space parcels to the county commissioners on May 3rd, 2016. Just to give a brief summary of the request, the applicant is proposing to vacate the public access easements on the parcels dedicated as public access open space A and public access open space B in the original Aspen Falls Estates Cluster Subdivision. The purpose of the vacation is to mitigate any liability concerns related to these public open space parcels, including the liability of public access to the detention pond located on public access open space B. Now, because these open space parcels in the original subdivision are considered public, the vacation of these parcels requires a public hearing for this vacation ordinance. This vacation ordinance must also be filed and recorded with an amended subdivision plat. The plat would just need to address that it's no longer public. The actual amended subdivision plat has received all necessary approvals and will be recorded in conjunction with this vacation ordinance. In regards to the vacation ordinance, I guess in relation to Utah Code, Section 1727A dash 609.5 states that the legislative body may adopt an ordinance granting a petition to vacate some or all of a public street, right-of-way, or easement if the legislative body finds that A, good cause exists for the vacation, and B, the public interest or any person will not be materially injured by the proposed vacation. As I considered the general plan, I found that vacating the identified easements will not have a negative effect on the Ogden Valley General Plan. And I'll just go over the staff recommendation. Staff recommends approval of the request to vacate the public open space that has been previously dedicated as Public Open Space A and Public Open Space B, located along 4200 East within the Aspen Falls Estates Cluster Subdivision. This recommendation for approval is subject to all review agency requirements and based on the following conditions. 1, the ordinance to vacate the public access open space shall be recorded in conjunction with the Aspen Falls Estates Cluster Subdivision First Amendment. And 2, the loss of one bonus lot shall be shown on the final plat of the Aspen Falls Estates Cluster Subdivision First Amendment. It's got a long subdivision name there. So if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Nate, did I miss how much acreage we're talking about?
I apologize. Nate is
Oh, sorry.
the applicant.
I'm sorry, Steve.
Project area, which
Did
is
I call you Jonathan?
Nate.
No, I called you Nate. Okay.
That's all right. The project area is 8.3 acres. It's looking at the vacating area that will be vacated.
And have we done any usage? I mean, is it used for anything right now, even though it has public access? Is there
Currently, it's not.
any general usage of it by?
No, these open space parcels are currently not used, other than just being there as open space, open to the public.
Any other questions?
Just for my own. Is the space, I imagine the space behind it, that's public lands, correct? If there was an easement, there because there was something behind it.
In this case, it was developed as a cluster subdivision, which required, in order to have bonus density, required open space.
I got that. So what's the parcel behind it? Or why was there, the easement there was there in the first place? Because?
From my understanding, the easement was developed so that the public could access this open space.
Will the public still have the ability to access the open space from another parcel around that area?
And that's the purpose of the vacation, is so it will no longer be public. It will be, on the plat, it'll actually be called private open space. So I guess the intent is that the public will not enter onto the open space.
Understand.
I think the question came up in my mind, by making this inaccessible, are we tying up other properties that are open space to the public? That's, I think, the question that I was.
Thank you.
Not with this one, we're not.
Thank you. That's, thank you for articulating that.
Well, I thought I'd talk to Nate / Jonathan Burton. Don't feel bad.
That's all right.
It's once a meeting. It's always once a meeting.
And you're the guy this time.
It's always be doing it. So, any other questions, Commissioner? Okay.
Move for approval. Oh, wait, we got to call for, too little too on the gun.
It's okay.
Too much grain.
So thank you. We'll move on to item number 3, public hearing to allow citizens to provide input concerning the projects that were awarded under the 2017 Community Development Block Grant Program, or CDBG. Okay, you are Chad Meyerhofer.
Correct.
I'll look
Good morning,
up this thing.
Commissioners. Yeah, the Weber Housing Authority did apply for funds, and they were successful in their application. So this is the next step in moving forward with that application. So if you can bear with me, there's a few things that we've got to make sure that are read into the minutes, and then I'll get Andy up here to kind of explain the projects. So this hearing was called to allow citizens to provide input concerning the projects that were awarded under the 2017 Community Development Block Grant Program. The county has amended its capital investment plan and decided to apply for funds on behalf of the Weber Housing Authority. The Weber Housing Authority's application was successful in the regional rating and ranking process, and the Weber Housing Authority was awarded $30,000 for an emergency rental and deposit assistance program and $50,000 for a down payment assistance program. There is a copy of the capital investment plan available at the Weber County Planning Office for review. And I'll turn the time over to Andy, and she can explain these projects.
Good morning. So we applied for $50,000 for down payment assistance. So this will provide 10 households in Weber County with $5,000 towards the purchase of their first property. And then for $30,000 for emergency rental assistance. This is for $500 for individuals that are imminently at risk of losing their housing, and will make a one-time $500 payment to keep them in their current living situation. Any questions on the programs?
I don't. One of the issues we continue to have is trying to get folks into a place to live, and a barrier we have is the barrier we talk about all the time, right? It's what is it called? It's when you have to put up money so that if you cause damage.
Yeah, the deposit.
Yes, and so that's the security deposit is an area we continue to struggle with. So we're still working on that. But these other programs are amazing programs for the down payment and the emergency rental assistance. It really gets those that are struggling.
Right.
It stops the backslide and gets them propped up so they can start moving forward. So I love these programs. Which of these programs did we not have last year or we did not exercise? Was it the?
Well, we didn't receive funding for either of these last year. There currently is not an agency in Weber County that offers emergency rental assistance, and that has kind of been a gap in our services for a while. And then the down payment assistance, we've just been recycling. So how it works is we provide $5,000, and it's a grant/loan program. And if the participant lives in the home for 5 or more years, then we gift $4,000, and then they just have to pay back $1,000 upon sale of the property. So then we just use those dollars, we just recycle those and continue to grant those out. And so we didn't have any new funding, but since 2010, when we first received the CDBG funding, we've issued the grant to 218 households in Weber County.
I'll ask another one because I enjoy the opportunity to talk to you.
Of course.
We have 2 amazing other projects that run through the Weber Housing Authority, and that is the process of purchasing homes, rehabbing them, and then renting them, and purchasing, rehabbing, and selling them, both to the same population, which has provided an opportunity for those who could not originally maybe get into a house or a place to rent through the housing authority. So again, it's a very thoughtful process in addressing issues we have with low-income housing within the county. So thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, we'll now open time up for public comment on items 2 or 3 in our public hearing. If you have a question, concern, or thought regarding the Aspen Falls Estate subdivision cluster vacation or the CDBG grants, please step forward. Okay, seeing no one taking the opportunity, I'm open to a motion to adjourn a public hearing and reconvene the public meeting.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay, we're back in our public meeting. Any action on the public hearing, commissioners?
I'll make a motion that we approve the request to vacate the public access easements on open space parcels located within the Aspen Falls Estates Cluster Subdivision at 4100 North and 4200 East.
And that is ordinance 10.
Number 10.
I have a motion to approve ordinance number 10. Do I have a second?
Yes.
Okay, I have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Roll call.
Commissioner Gibson,
Aye.
Commissioner Harvey,
Aye.
Chair Ebert.
Aye. It passes. Thank you very much. We still have the request request to, is this an approve or award the CDBG?
Just to accept what they.
Okay,
I'll move to accept the H3 CDBG Community Development Block Grant Program.
Second.
we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. It passes. Thank you very much. Okay, we're in public comment. Do we have anyone here from the public that would like to make a comment concerning items we've discussed or any other items? Okay, well, thank you very much for your attendance.
Somebody
Oh,
standing up.
sorry, coming on up. Thank you. I thought you were heading for the door.
Nope, not yet.
All right, sir, would you please give us your name and where you're from, and then you have 3 minutes.
My name is Blaine Cutler, and I live in West Weber. On this first action item you've got going, I'd like to express my concern with that one because of the 30 people that are not even on Weber County line. I know we're in your district and everything, but we've been paying service fees for the last 13 years for services that would never be rendered. So I'd like to maybe throw in your discussions a little of maybe getting these 30 people or how many people it ever rounds out onto a fixed price rate. When Central Weber increases, we could increase, instead of us paying for all your development going west. I know you'll be opening this to a public meeting soon too, and I'll express more concern then at that time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate your input and the time you took today to come. Does anyone else have anything in public comment? Happy to hear from you. Okay, seeing none, we're open for our last.
I'll move that we adjourn.
Moved, and I will second that motion. All in favor say aye. Aye. We are adjourned. Thank you very much for attending today.